Vaccine will be available within the next 18 months.
I have business here for about 25 years.
We have an agenda, obviously.
Right now. Reporting from New York City, I'm
Hello and welcome to the final edition of Stony Brook News. Thank you for joining us as we broadcast from the safety of our homes. I'm Alex Bakirdan. Governor Andrew Cuomo announced today that New York's eviction moratorium has been extended to the end of August. This moratorium, which was first announced in March, bans landlords from removing the tenants who are unable to pay rent as a result of COVID-19. Cuomo acknowledged the strain that this would put on landlords, but said that his administration is working with banks to come up with a plan to address their needs. Will classes resume online in the fall, or will we return to face-to-face classes? Reporter Luis Sanchez spoke to Vice President of Student Affairs, Richard Gateau, about how the university plans to move ahead with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thanks, Alex, and hello, everyone. This week, I got the chance to speak to Richard Gateau, Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students. In our conversation, we spoke about the difficulties the university has faced due to COVID-19. Gateau touched base on housing and tuition fee refunds. This is what he had to say.
Right around the spring break period when we moved everything to remote instruction for the classroom, that actually resulted in all of us in student affairs moving student life, career services, CAP, student health, to move that to a more remote operation as well. So in the student life realm, especially the student engagement activities team, they've just done incredible work, literally flipping in a matter of a week. Related to fall, I'm going to say that we're in very good practice right now because we've now been doing it. And obviously prior to spring break, we had done everything in a face-to-face mode. So the good news is we've kind of swung the pendulum from one direction to the other. We are, just as the university is preparing, we are really in the process of doing scenario planning for any option. We know because of social distancing rules, we would certainly need to limit event sizes. Clearly that we have to follow whatever the governor and the other protocols that are in place at the campus level, we're going to follow that. So right now, with social distancing of being 6 feet apart, everything from our dining operation to events on campus, we need to mirror that kind of protocol.
In regards to tuition fee refunds and housing refunds, Gateau says students are expected to receive a statement by next week on solar.
To share that through the great work of the finance administration area, those refunds and credits will be processed this week and will be on students' records by the end of this week, if not the latest early next week. And part of what I want students to know is that process did take some time, in part because it's a process we work through with SUNY since we're part of the SUNY system, but also because many of our students are on financial aid. It actually did require a review of students' financial aid on an individual basis, because by doing refunds of any things like housing, meal plans, and some of the broad-based fees that are being prorated, that does change the cost of attendance for students. So the refunds people are receiving, for housing, which is anybody who resided on campus, it's from the date that they actually left campus that they would get a prorated refund of the remaining residence hall money. If they were on a meal plan, that's also prorated from the date that they left. So those are really the larger amounts that students are receiving. Anybody else, residents or commuters, and this applies to undergrad and graduate students as well. If undergrad students, they do pay the recreation and campus life fee, that is also being prorated and refunded. And also the transportation fee, that's also being credited back as well. So those are the fees that are being, credited back. Oh, and the last one also is GSO and USG, they do charge a student activities fee.
In his final message, Rick Gateau has this to say to the class of 2020.
Message for the students as well as everyone. Please don't think that your hard work and your dedication commitment is not going unnoticed. In fact, I think more than ever, I think we've all recognized and acknowledged the incredible work and commitment, even in this last several weeks, to remain focused, to keep studying hard, to keep your eye on the prize at the finish line of graduation.
There's no official word whether or not classes will remain online for the fall, though a virtual graduation is scheduled for Friday, May 22nd at 12 p.m. Reporting from home in New York City for Stony Brook News, I am Luis Sanchez. We'll send it back down to Virginia to Alex.
The Trump administration will continue to monitor the COVID-19 pandemic, despite an earlier plan to wind down the task force and shift focus to reopening the economy. President Trump said on Wednesday that the task force will work indefinitely as COVID-19 cases continue to grow in the U.S. As unemployment numbers continue to rise in the U.S., Americans fear an uncertain future. Many are already protesting, demanding businesses reopen so that they can return to work. Donovan Alexis reports.
A call to reopen all businesses. The COVID-19 pandemic is costing millions of Americans their jobs. In the last week, about 3.8 million Americans filed for unemployment claims, bringing the countrywide total to over 30 million. The Labor Department over the last few weeks had been experiencing an overwhelming response as applications flooded their site. Their phone lines also experienced high call volumes.
It was literally a complete nightmare. I couldn't get a hold of them for the life of me. They kept putting me on hold, and as soon as I thought I was going to be, meeting with talking to a representative, the call would drop.
The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics is due to release their jobs report for the month of April. The prediction is that the unemployment rate could hit 20%, the highest number since the Great Depression.
We all have bills, whether it be car, credit card, whatnot. Some people still pay for school, and I just needed a way to ensure that I could still pay those bills without ruining my future.
And while some are already living the reality of unemployment, those that still have a job have been told that they are likely to be next.
Millions, literally millions of people are in similar situations to me, and also have had the situation where they've already lost their job. You kind of feel it on a more personal level. You hear a lot of stuff in the news about unemployment, and so it was just a much more personal impact on myself.
This week is the first week since the federal government announced that it wouldn't be renewing its social distancing guidelines. Now it's down to the states to decide when the time is right to reopen businesses. Reporting remotely for Stony Brook News, I'm Donovan Alexis.
Racial disparity has become a concern in the time of COVID-19. Many minorities living paycheck to paycheck feel they can't afford the luxury of staying home during quarantine. Melissa Azofefa reports.
When you look at the racial breakdown of who's getting hospitalized, you see it's disproportionately minorities, disproportionately African American and Latino, again in downstate New York.
Jobs such as landscaping, construction, and painting are staffed with mainly minority workers who are still going out to work despite social distancing guidelines because they can't afford the luxury of staying home.
And in some cases, there was a level of impossibility to it where they just couldn't socially distance, especially if they continued to have to go to work. You have some landlords that are still threatening tenants that they will be evicted if they don't pay rent. There's some employers that are threatening employees that they'll be fired if they don't go to work. And the Latino community kind of became the front line for a while. Unfortunately, they got hit very hard by COVID-19.
As a part of the COVID-19 disinfection task force in New York City, Gerardo Sanchez was one of those people.
So for about a week, I was having no income, no job, but I still have $6,000 of school that I have to pay. You know what I mean? I still want to graduate. I still have to pay for it. It's still a bill that's going to be due, but I have no income. So when my friend told me that, hey, I have a job opportunity here, do you want to take it? As much as I was like, wow, everybody is getting to stay at home right now. It's a pandemic, but everybody gets to stay at home and focus on their schoolwork and do this. I have to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to Brooklyn and spray down these buildings and then come home and study and do my assignments because I have to make sure that it gets paid for.
As project manager of his father's company, Luis Morales has had to make some tough decisions.
We did close for a week, I want to say, and we couldn't stay closed for longer because we at the same time we want to take care of it. We have to pay buy food, pay rent, pay car, pay everything, bills. They live here.
Without a doubt, everyone has been affected by this pandemic. However,
COVID-19 has certainly highlighted the systemic lack of resources for minorities. Reporting from Hampton Bays, for Stony Brook News, I'm Melissa Azofefa.
Northwell Health will now be testing up to 500 first responders for COVID-19 antibodies daily. The partnership with Nassau and Suffolk County first responder agencies will allow them to be tested 5 days a week. Officials in both counties have said testing could be expanded to other essential workers in the future. A Georgia prosecutor has called for a grand jury investigation into the death of Ahmaud Arbery, a 25-year-old black man who was shot and killed while on a run near Brunswick, Georgia. Video of the incident emerged on Tuesday and has circulated all over social media. The two men who pursued Arbery in the video, a father and son duo, have not yet been charged in the killing. Dental and doctors' offices are now changing the way they see patients. Reporter Ariel Noren brings us inside the office of her dad, an oral surgeon, and her mom, a registered nurse.
The majority of dental offices are closed in New York, but Ithaca Oral Surgery, an implant center, is still open. Dr. Noren is performing emergency surgeries on patients experiencing severe pain, swelling, and infection. To protect themselves and their patients, they wear N95 and surgical masks, face shields, protective eyewear, surgical gowns, and gloves when performing surgery.
Usually we will call and remind them they have an appointment, but on the day of the surgery, before they even come in, we will call them an hour ahead of time. How are you feeling? Are you having any cough, cold symptoms, runny nose, any of that? And if they have any of that at all, then we will go ahead and reschedule their appointment.
Patients wait in the parking lot until his staff contacts them to come inside. When the patient is ready to be seen, they must wear a mask and have their temperature checked before they are allowed inside. Governor Cuomo ordered all elective surgeries and procedures to be postponed at least until May 15th. This is an effort for preserving PPE, hospital beds, and limiting the spread of coronavirus. Dr. Noren is stocked with PPE he ordered, but also received a donation from the Public Health Department. His main priority is keeping his staff and patients safe while preventing unnecessary hospital visits.
We do want to prevent people from having serious acute infections, and we'd rather treat more routine things. And it's less exposure for staff too that way.
Reporting from Ithaca, New York, for Stony Brook News, I'm Ariel Noren.
The Long Island Aquarium in Riverhead recently cut 90% of its staff in order to feed their 5,000 animals. Because of lockdown, there aren't any customers and weekly expenses remain high. Aquariums have to use social media, GoFundMe pages, and video chats to connect people to the animals. The Long Island Aquarium recently started a program called Talk to the Animals, which features a 5-minute paid private call to sea lions, penguins, and seals to pay for animal meals. Thank you for tuning in to our final edition of Stony Brook News for the semester. Now more than ever, we need journalism to give us the facts. Being informed is the only way that we can make responsible decisions. We hope to see you next semester. In the meantime, stay home and stay healthy, Seawolves, and best of luck on your finals. For Stony Brook News, I'm Alex Bakirdan.